Hello, and welcome to Media-eval, a medieval pop culture podcast. I'm Sarah Ifft, and on this podcast, we normally talk about how movies, TV, and books depict the medieval world. And I, as a medieval historian, complain about what they get wrong, occasionally discuss what they got right, and reflect on what they tell us about how modern people think about the medieval past. So today's episode is a little bit different from our other episodes so far, in part because I am here with two guests. Dawn Gildenmeister and Benjamin White. You guys want to introduce yourselves?
I'm Dawn. I'm back. I was on one of your previous episodes.
Yes.
And I'll let Benjamin talk now.
Hello. I am also here, and I am a guest.
We're Sarah's friends in real life, and we went to medieval times with her.
Yes. So today's episode is a special episode where instead of talking about a movie or a TV show, we are going to be talking about a medieval experience, the immersive experience of Medieval Times Restaurant, where we all went together.
So I just want to share with you that since I'm off today, I've had local TV on, and there's been not one, two, but three different times Medieval Times has been advertised.
Really?
As a, fun summer thing to do local to the city.
Yeah, it's big on WGN. WGN has been running these ads pretty consistently all day long.
Yeah.
I'm glad that Medieval Times is being, promoted very heavily as a thing people should do for fun.
They're doing discounted tickets right now for $39.95.
Oh, wow. I should come back. We should go again. I know, right? So we went to the one in Chicago, which is where you guys live, and which I think actually might be my closest Medieval Times, technically.
I think it is, and even though it says it's in Chicago, it's actually in a suburb of Chicago.
Right, yeah.
I don't want to make any Chicago listeners upset that someone quoted a lovely institution such as Medieval Times in the city limits.
I'm not sure where it would fit, because it's actually really large. I feel like it would be very difficult to build it in a major city.
Yeah, I'm always curious, where the other ones are in the country.
I think they're all in the same exact sort of place.
They're random suburb that has a large mall and an IKEA.
It's literally the same places that you go for business. Anytime you go to a city, that when you go to Houston, you don't go to Houston. You go to quote unquote, air quotes, Houston.
Right, exactly.
Right. Yeah. Because, it's actually gigantic. It's shaped like a castle with some weird... Yeah, it's castle-ish.
It's got turrets. What else do you need?
Yeah, exactly. It actually is kind of shaped like what people have always thought castles looked like. So, it actually kind of looks like this, 19th century, basically, fake set of walls that they built in Carcassonne in southern France.
You know what it looks like? It looks like the Lego castle set I had as a child. It does, doesn't it? Think about it.
I was just trying to come up, see if I had the actual model number, the set number, because I probably could come up with a bunch of those, or the name. There's a lot of castle sets. You're sending me on a journey where I just want to try and figure this out, if I can figure out exactly which castle you're talking about.
Well, I'll forecast a future bonus episode for Sarah.
The Lego episode.
The Lego medieval episode, because
yeah.
you want to be really enthralled in some Lego knowledge.
I actually almost, bought you the Notre Dame de Paris Lego set, which, so sad. Yes, we are recording this just after the fire at Notre Dame, and fortunately some of the building has been preserved, including the stained glass, which I am very relieved about.
I'm very surprised about that, actually.
I know, same.
I literally just had somebody in a Star Wars group tell me that it was preserved, and I was very excited.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was very shocked.
Yeah, and because yesterday they were saying that basically everything was gone, but I guess they were wrong and didn't know what they were talking about, so that's good.
I think whenever, at least I don't know a ton about fire safety and whatnot,
right.
But from living in a major city where there are occasionally large fires here, we just had one by our house that whole factory blew up.
Yeah.
I think when the smoke billows so largely, they make assumptions.
Right. So they assumed that, like, I mean, because it looked like the windows were, like, on fire, but I think it was just, like, the smoke pouring through. I guess. Yeah.
And in all actuality, because of the type of timber and the age of the timber and the dryness of it, the roof was just really what was causing the smoke.
Right, yeah. So, which definitely makes sense. And yeah, the spire, which is totally gone.
Right.
Although that is 19th century.
Whatever.
In my definite, like, I mean, it's in my,
Also-
like, it's not that old. It's fine.
Also, the Chicago News like did a really fun like dig about like, or it was a church, right? That was like saying like, oh yeah, we know how fire can wreck a community, so we really feel for you because we're going to bring up the Great Chicago Fire forever.
The one thing that we want to talk about ever.
It's like, remember, we had our own fire, guys.
Yeah,
It was a big deal.
And it was. I mean, it did do some damage, but it wasn't like.
I mean, it did literally change the city forever. But it's fine.
I mean, it's just a little big.
I mean, London is honestly kind of doing the same thing, and their fire was like 400 years ago.
Yeah,
So
that's also fair. They did bring up, though, I don't remember which building, or it might have been also another church an opera house that burnt down.
Okay.
And comparing it to the restoration.
Well, there's also a church here in the city.
Oh, no, this was in Europe as well.
Oh.
Like, there was an opera house somewhere in Europe that burnt down in the 2000s.
Oh,
And it cost them about $60 million to restore.
Yeah.
So they're feeling like the number of donations they've already got is going to be pretty sufficient to make sure that this is done.
Yeah. Notre Dame University donated, which I think is very cute. But also kind of funny, since apparently they had to tweet yesterday, "No, we're not on fire," because of the amount of people who have not actually heard of Notre Dame Cathedral and like thought Notre Dame University was on fire.
Oh, they're worried about football.
There's so much football.
Yeah, exactly. They're really worried.
Maybe they were really
about
worried
the
about that
football.
stained glass that was in Rudy. If there is a stained glass window that people lose their shit about, that's like basic bitch level stained glass, like something I could probably, not really, but maybe I could make it.
Yeah, you did a stained glass workshop. Yeah, so we are wildly off topic. So
But this is an off topic episode, so it's allowed to be a little loose and fun.
Yeah, exactly. So it's current events in the Middle Ages. Medieval in the news. So medieval times.
You can always drive up to go see the fantastic Notre Dame of Northern Illinois or Northern Indiana.
That's true. I would be sort of on my way, I guess, up to Chicago.
Or Kalamazoo.
Or Kalamazoo, right? Can do a pilgrimage to the other Notre Dame.
And wave.
Right. Yeah. Fun fact. Also, by the way, Jesus's crown of thorns made it through the fire. Or the thing that is ostensibly Jesus's crown of thorns, but is at least a cool medieval reliquary.
Yes. That and one other major thing that they were concerned about, they confirmed was safe.
I think it was Saint Louis the Ninth's tunic.
Yes, I was like, somebody's clothing was like all I could recall.
Yeah, it's the King of France who then became a saint, who actually is the one who got the crown of thorns for France.
I'm just gonna back up. They literally said that they had the crown, the literal actual crown.
That's what's always been there.
Oh yeah, since the 13th. Yeah, since the 13th century.
That's like their big claim to fame.
Yeah.
For real?
Yeah, every church has a claim to fame over there.
Well, I know. We saw the part where the box that the person's heart was that saint's heart was in, but
yeah,
like,
I was way more into the mouse and the cat. Sorry,
yeah.
Sorry.
But, like,
I mean, the dead cat was kind of cool.
Assuming that the actual crown of thorns was real, like they thought. I mean, I guess it probably is real, maybe.
I'm assuming fact checking back then was done a little bit more, like, on the fly.
A little loosey-goosey, but it's kind of amazing that they decided, like, yes, this is the crown of, like, this is the crown, and it's literally made of thorns. Wait, what is it? Literally made of thorns?
It's made of, like, briars, kind of, yeah.
Okay.
It's like some weird branches. Show. We know so much about medieval stuff.
Yeah, we're real good.
We're really showing that Midwest charm. Go USA.
You guys are great. But yeah, I mean, they actually totally believed that they had all sorts of things. Like, there's also were like 8 separate places that deeply believed they had the head of John the Baptist. And I mean, certainly they didn't all have the head of John the Baptist, and probably none of them had the head of John the Baptist, but they all thought they did, bless their hearts.
Man, Catholic reliquaries are the best. They're so gory.
Yeah, I kind of love the ones where it's just like, I don't know if it's the person's head that's supposed to be there, but it's definitely somebody's head.
I mean, sometimes you just gotta, like, collect them all.
Yeah. I mean, that's actually pretty much like medieval relics.
Now you're
gotta catch them all.
What?
Now you're bringing Pokemon to this, and this is...
I'm just saying, like, I would think back then you just kind of, like, are winging it a lot of times and being like, most of the people don't read. Most people can't write.
Yeah, and also, people, and then there's, like, a miracle that somebody says happens, and then that proves that it's a real relic, and you're all good.
Or, like, like, there's a dowry type thing situation, or, not a dowry, but a bounty of sorts to return something. So people are like, yeah, this head seemed legit.
Yeah. So, yeah, I feel like there was, like, a lot of grave robbing that clearly must have happened at various points, because it's not until relatively late that it's actually like, okay, this person died in the 14th century. That's definitely her head.
Yeah. And I mean, even up until, like, the 16th and 17th century, it was still problematic in certain things. Grave robbing and stuff.
Oh, yeah. I mean, definitely there's still a ton of grave robbing that's probably happening when they're like, cool, yeah, we've got this relic. We found it. It's definitely not the head of this guy who died like a month ago. Let's just go on, because I'm gonna start making some really gross jokes.
This is fascinating and fun to talk about, but we are never going to finish this medieval times things once we start talking about people stealing heads.
Because I have strong opinions about dead heads. Like, from my short stint of working in a crime lab. You can really tell a lot from a very easy, like, there's not much to go off of. Like, you're either super dead or not dead. Very long.
Right. So, another time we will talk about severed heads. But this episode, we are talking about the medieval times experience. So we got the royalty pack. So we had VIP seating. So we got to sit right toward the front, where you could have a good view of all of the horses and the knights.
We were very fancy.
Yes. I also did not realize until I got there that the medieval times show is now specifically Spain.
I didn't know that either. I've never checked, though, so I can't really go off of previous experiences.
Yeah, we've gone a couple of times, but I don't remember. Like,
I think this is my 5th time I've gone.
Yeah.
I should preface this for everyone listening. I apologize, but Benjamin and I have a tendency to go to themed restaurants that are across the country in, like, a deliciously weird way. We also have been to Dolly Parton's Dixie Stampede.
That's a whole other show.
That's a whole other show.
And wasn't medieval times like one of your, like, early dates?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
It was like maybe 3 months in, 6 months in.
Yeah.
Pretty early.
Yeah. I think I pretty much told him we had to go, because I was just like, there's a large place where there's horses and they feed you.
Yeah. So I think the show might be relatively new. At some point, I remember we were kind of poking around and looking at various threads, and I think they, like, revamped the show at some point in the sometime relatively recently.
So this show debuted for, I think, their winter season last year.
Okay.
The AMA, done by one of the creative directors of the place that's been with them for like 30 years, kind of walked through the history of it. So if anyone does want to search the AMA section, type in medieval times, you'll get some knights that do AMAs.
Nice.
You get some squires that do AMAs.
It's highly worth the search.
It is.
They're really fun to read.
Some of them are definitely really fun.
Yeah, it was really interesting. I had no idea that you had to train for a year to be a knight. Mm-hmm. I literally thought it was just like any other, like, crappy, like, server job where you just, like, they're like, yo, someone called in, you're getting on this horse tonight.
Right, which is actually kind of cool. And I will say, like, the fighting is very well choreographed. I mean, they clearly, like, know what they're doing in terms of, like, stage fighting and horse handling and stuff like that.
You were going to say something.
Oh, I was just going to say that literally, she just said the same thing.
Oh, okay.
There was just, there's no way somebody can just be hired off the street and just get up on a horse like that.
I mean, I honestly didn't
really
know.
Good at it.
I know, but like, I'm saying like this was my first notion like years and years ago, like 10 years ago. Like when I think of the idea of themed restaurants, I think that like most people literally have zero interest in doing this.
Right.
And like they're just like, I'm a suburban kid and someone told me if I got a job here, girls would want to make out with me.
I mean, I think that is also true.
Yeah,
Like-
there's clearly like this is like the seasonal, like the off-season Ren Fair dudes.
I mean,
Right.
I would probably make out with a squire at medieval times.
I mean, I don't know if a squire, maybe a night. I mean, that
Yeah.
one night was really hot.
Okay.
There was one
we're
really
gonna
hot
save the green
night.
night for later.
Yeah.
The servers, on the other hand, I feel like were very varied in their level of enthusiasm, and ours was really not into it.
She was like, "M'lady."
She did
Yeah.
her level best.
I mean, I genuinely feel bad for her. I feel like if you just want like a standard server job and then it turns out that the one you get is the one where you have to wear a costume and call people m'lady and say that you're serving them dragon's blood soup, I can see not being overly enthused about that situation.
But apparently, because of the way they serve stuff, they make bank.
Yeah.
They
Oh,
make
yeah?
they make between $500 and $700 a night.
Oh, that's not bad.
Considering there's only 2 shows on average.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like that could justify a little more enthusiasm, but
I mean, I'm just saying, like she could have been like "M'lady" instead she was like "M'lady."
Right, yeah, she was not into it.
Which basically threw a roll at my face.
Yeah, no, she was not on board.
So back to the royalty package that we got, the VIP.
Yes, we got the royalty package, which meant we got a flag, and you actually get assigned as you come in. They give you like a little like paper crown and a flag and stuff like that, and seat you in the section for a particular night. So we were seated in the section for the black and white knight, who you're then supposed to root for that night, and the other 2 of the 6 knights who are designated as his buddies.
We may have also pressured Benjamin into buying us fancier flags.
Yes. In addition to being able to spend money on fancier flags, you can also spend money on getting medieval themed or medieval times themed glassware of various kinds.
Some of which light up very.
Is that still working?
Yeah,
Like,
it is.
Awesome. And it's like shaped like a
I should have poured
castle.
my drink into my turret.
Oh, should we pause so we can
No,
put your drink
it's
in
okay.
here?
So, yeah, so I am not using my glass currently, but I do now have a very large medieval times beer stein.
And Benjamin and I also have those from our previous visit.
Yeah, we do.
And to discuss what Sarah just mentioned, they have these acrylic tall glasses that are formed to look like a castle turret, and the bottom of it has a battery pack, and it strobes much like an ounce ounce type feel, and it has 5 different settings, so you can ounce to a color wheel or just one single color.
Basically, think of a rook from chess. It looks like that,
But at a rave.
Yeah.
Rave Rook, yeah.
Rave rook.
Sorry.
So yeah, you could also, I think they might have been out of them, but you could also buy like an actual like thing shaped like a helmet.
They were not out of them. We just went to the
Oh.
wrong register, and I'm still a little salty
Damn it.
about it.
Oh, damn.
Because Benjamin found them when he went around the corner.
Oh.
Remember?
That's right, yeah. So, yes, Dawn now has a drink in her amazing light up glass. If I have to pause to get a drink later, I can get the stein.
Be hypnotized. Sorry.
And I'm sure listeners will all deeply appreciate this in this completely non-visual medium.
I can make a video of it later and
That's
post it
true.
when you release
Yeah.
this.
That's true. There will be a
Actually-
multimedia component because you should post the video, and I will have to post the very creative map of Spain that I will be talking about in detail in a bit.
Yes, and I could also put Benjamin in the hat because we still have it, and we could get him
Amazing.
at the flag, and he could actually be the video prop person for the drink. You're elected! Yay!
We can
Yay!
do a lot of things did that.
So before you go in, you are able also to buy assorted swords and shields. There are a lot of sword options for purchase. There's also some interesting decoration, and some of it is just like basically random medieval weaponry, kind of what you would expect. But I will say, credit where credit is due. They also had like a little case of document facsimiles, including some like legit like the kind of stuff that I study, these notarial like economic contracts. They had some replicas of those in a little display case, and I thought that was very sweet, and it was very nice that they made the effort to include something that was not necessarily exactly what a regular person would think about the Middle Ages.
Yeah, I'm assuming they had an intern one summer that was actually studying medieval studies, and this was like their level Z option for an internship, and this is where they drew the short straw.
I mean, I will say I would have taken that internship when I was in college.
I mean, right. But like, I don't know if many PhDs would agree with you. Like,
I mean, I don't know. Like, I feel like a decent amount of people like obviously would not have done that like once they were in a PhD program. But like, I don't know. I mean, I have friends that like did reenactment at various points. Like,
yeah, maybe like sophomore year.
Yeah, exactly. Like freshman or sophomore year, I definitely would have done that internship.
Wait, there are medieval reenactments? Like,
yeah, I mean, like there's
the SCA.
Well, yeah, there's that, but I like, you know, my dad was like a big mountain man person, so it was like French and Indian War stuff that he was really into. So
yeah, my sister used to joust.
Yeah, I completely forgot that was actually like that. There are people that are into that who are actually
our age.
Well, no, that they are really into history and not just like
the fun part,
Lord of the Rings shit.
Oh yeah.
Right, yeah, like, and there actually, I will say, there are probably people who do that kind of, like, reenactment stuff that probably know more than most academic medievalists about stuff like clothing. Just because, like, unless that's very specifically your research area, you know, it's not necessarily the thing that you really look into in that much detail. But it's a kind of thing that, you know, a lot of people who are reenactors, like, really, you know, have an immediate handle on because they actually have to recreate medieval style clothing. And some people take it really seriously.
When I was in junior high, my sister made me 2 handmaiden dresses. So I could go to the fair with her.
Cool.
Because she would not let you go to the fair with her not dressed up.
Yes.
Because you are allowed to go to them not dressed up.
No, I know, but she was going to joust.
Okay.
Well, that's rad. Your sister jousted?
Yeah. She used
That's
to make
fucking
chainmail,
cool.
too.
Yeah.
My sister's kind of weird, but cool at times.
Yeah, your sister's pretty rad.
But no, she used to go to something called Penzic. It's in Pennsylvania every summer.
Mm-hmm.
It's the Penzic War. It's like 2 weeks of camping and battles.
Huh. Neat.
You should look it
Yeah.
up.
Yeah. So yeah, you can do various things like that. Let's see. Anything else that is especially memorable from before going inside?
I mean, you did forget the photo opportunity with the Queen.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, you could take photos with the Queen.
Maybe. We also didn't do the dungeon.
Yeah, we did not do the dungeon.
Oh, right. Yeah, you could have paid extra and gone into the dungeon. And there is also a herald making announcements to direct you where to go, who does get enthusiastic and uses medieval-esque language.
Mm-hmm. Also, all the drinks had, like, weird medieval faux pun names.
Yeah, that's right. I actually can't remember any of them, unfortunately.
There's, like, the Sorcerer's Cup and, like, the Knight's...
Oh, yeah.
The Knight's Mead.
And you could get one in a horn if you wanted to. If you really wanted to go.
Yeah, they had the horn and the Knight. They had the... Why am I forgetting?
The helmet. Yeah, I kind of wanted a horn, to be honest.
Yeah,
the horn
too.
was what was sold out. It was the Knight's helmet
that's
that
right.
wasn't.
Yeah.
I actually do have a horn.
That you can drink out of?
I'm pretty sure. I'm surprised my dad hasn't mailed it to us yet.
Oh, he hasn't found it yet. He'll find it and mail it to
Yeah,
us.
just like that knife he mailed to your job. But
Yeah, that was weird.
That's a whole other thing. These are wildly different eras of history, but that's fine.
Benjamin won a knife for starting fires.
Yeah, it was.
With no context, that sounds really weird, right?
It really does.
Cool knife.
I mean,
It's not super sharp though.
I think she wants you to explain how you won a knife for what.
Oh well, starting a fire with like flint and tinder, like it was a fire starting challenge. You had to build a fire high enough to burn the string that was on top of this little area.
Okay.
Like, it was just like a string, a piece of twine tied up, and so if the first person to build a fire high enough to burn the string in half won the challenge, and I did it.
Nice. Congratulations. So it's not like you successfully committed arson, so now you win a knife so you can stab people.
I wish
My lawyer has advised me not to comment on this.
So yeah, besides the weird horn that we couldn't buy and the night's drink names that we didn't remember, the terrible maps you're going to rip apart later, and the enthusiastic people that were yelling, I don't really think there's anything else. The bathrooms are not medieval.
They are not. There is also, just by the way, and I don't think I actually noticed all of these until later, but this is in the kind of decor part, so I'll mention it now. There's a series of just kind of random paintings that I think are supposed to be kind of medieval style, but which the actual artistic style is very modern, but the composition is supposed to look kind of medieval, I think.
Yes.
And the subject matter is supposed to be medieval. One of them, for reasons that are entirely beyond me, has what looks like somebody executing a llama.
Yes! That was wonderfully and creepy, and I just kind of wanted it.
Yeah, so I will post a picture of that in the Facebook group of, for some reason, someone executing a llama at medieval times.
I will add, though, that the hand dryers had advertising medieval times wraps around them.
Okay, so there is a little theme. And honestly, probably for the best that they were not medieval-style bathrooms.
No. Although it would be kind of cool if it was like a toilet put into a throne.
Well...
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
I'm just saying.
The medieval-style bathrooms is just a hole, but that's...
Go big or go home.
Yeah.
Right, I mean, that's why I was saying it would not be a great idea for it to be medieval-style bathrooms, because I feel like most people would not be thrilled if they got there and it's like, surprise, get to squat in front of this hole. So, inside, you get seated by whichever knight you have been assigned to root for, which for ours was the Black and White Knight, which, since this is supposedly Spain, or Spain-inspired, we were in the section for the Black and White Knight, who is the Knight of Santiago de Compostela. I was very sad when I realized that, since this was Spain, that meant that our mortal enemy, the red and yellow Knight of Perelada, was in fact the Knight of Catalonia, and that therefore we were set to root against my people.
Arch nemesis.
I know, it was really sad. Those are my people. I speak their language.
Yeah, I wonder if we could have been like, hello, we need to change sides.
Right? Like if I just...
of interest here in our seating party.
Yeah, I don't think anyone... maybe. I guarantee you someone has done this at least once.
I think if I'd realized it earlier and then said something in Catalan, they wouldn't have known I was saying so I was speaking Catalan, but I feel like I probably could have managed.
Oh, for sure. I mean, also, too, if you would have maybe taken your bra off and threw it at a knight, it also would have worked based on the AMAs I read.
Yeah, that definitely would have worked.
Okay. There's a whole story here you're not talking about.
No, like on the AMAs, like about how like the knights would talk about like when they would go to do like they would throw their like scarf into the crowd and they go to take it back at the end and women would put like their bras or their panties on it instead.
So the knights are Tom Jones somehow?
Yes.
These sort of stories really just... I'm so fascinated by them because I don't understand how someone does that.
I mean, you get really loaded up on, the Cauldron of Witchcraft brew or whatever it was called.
Right.
Because, I mean, they all didn't make any sense, really, what the way they were called.
No.
You pound a few of those an hour and a half before the show. You probably, pre-game it at a local bar or in your car because we are in the Midwest.
Right.
And then you just get a little too loosey-goosey when you're there with your girlfriends for a bachelorette party, it sounds like.
Yeah.
I can understand. Okay, I can see how someone could take a bra off. Like, I've
Maybe
seen
they brought the underwear.
Well, I've seen you do it before. I know how you can take a bra off.
I'm happy that you learned how bras come off.
Yeah, but...
I mean, if you're not wearing pants, like if you're wearing a skirt...
It's really easy, yeah.
I guess, that is pretty easy. I was just assuming
Benjamin's
pants.
mind is blown.
I was just assuming pants. I don't know why.
Because you wear pants.
Yeah, that's why.
Yeah, if you're wearing a skirt or dress, it's even easier than taking a bra off.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I mean...
Fair enough.
You're bored tomorrow on the way to work, read the night's AMAs. They get a lot of underwear.
Yeah.
Especially at the Saturday night show. Woo!
Good for them.
Yeah.
Yes. Sort of.
I mean, I don't know. I think it's kind of strange to be like, oh, I'm sorry, small child. I just almost put a noose around your head from this bra while I was startled at a woman's on.
It's kind of a weird dynamic, I will say, that stuff clearly happens, that people throw their underwear at the knights, and then also there are lots of small children.
Yeah, it's a weird bed of debauchery. It doesn't make a lot of sense.
Yeah, I feel like maybe the people who take their children there don't entirely expect that that's going to happen,
maybe
and
that's
then
why there's
are a
a
little
4:30
concerned.
show.
Right, for the people who have been to the evening show before, know that's a risk and realize they should not bring their children to the evening show.
Fun fact for those that live near medieval times, apparently if you're within school bus distance, this is a normal thing that happens when you're in junior high to go there. Because one of our other friends that went with us had gone there multiple times in junior high and high school as a school field trip.
Because it's educational.
Yeah, so educational.
Yeah, so educational.
And apparently during the week, they're just open during the day to do school events.
So, yeah, very elaborately choreographed. You got to see the horses dancing. There also are some creative descriptions of the meals, and I will talk more about the meals in a bit. The soup is described as dragon's blood soup, and the chicken is baby dragon, and they keep going on that theme.
I had some weird stuff called stuff too because I had a vegetarian meal, but I can't remember what it is.
Yeah, I don't remember what it was, but I do remember thinking enough with the dragon stuff. There are other mythological creatures.
Right.
The dragon's blood, cool. Got it. The dragon eggs, or baby dragons. That was what the chicken was, baby dragons.
Right, but I think that there were potatoes that were dragon's eggs.
Oh, shoot. Yes, there were. Just a little bit too many dragons.
Yeah.
Give me a, what are some other mythological creatures we could be eating?
I feel like unicorns tend to be considered in bad form to consume.
Yeah.
Harry Potter ruined it.
So before we move on, I just have a couple things I did for a little research myself over here. The high-level advertisement for this is jousting, horsemanship, falconry, plus a 4-course utensil-free meal served in a castle-like space.
Uh-huh.
That's very accurate.
Further, one of the top questions on Google is, am I allowed to wear jeans to this?
Yes, but it makes it harder to remove your underwear and throw it at the knights.
That literally is a problem I was having. I just don't understand how you get those underpants off.
And you might want to also post this. There is a video on the Eater YouTube channel about how they actually have figured out a way to serve 1,300 chicken dinners in 30 minutes. It's actually really fascinating.
Yeah, which is actually, I will say, impressive.
Because their kitchen is basically a high-level food factory.
Oh.
Huh. And while I have thoughts about the food and its accuracy level, it was totally fine, and it was definitely hot.
Yeah, it wasn't. I mean, I would say it's on par with Olive Garden or Chili's.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, yeah, literally half of the things did not exist in.
Medieval times?
Yeah, they were all
Right,
new,
that's...
new world foods, like potatoes,
Tomatoes.
etc. Tomatoes, yeah.
Yeah. Like, I'm sure they get the Cisco Classic level.
Okay, well...
Right, yeah. So Don, do you have additional research?
No, that was it.
Okay. So the food is a good segue into what would normally be the Vera et Falsos section about what they get right and wrong. And a lot of it is wrong. The food, first of all, like as Benjamin was saying, a lot of it is New World food, which seems like such a weird choice.
It does, especially when I think there's things they could also serve well that would be more on brand.
Right, like the choice to do, like, specifically tomato soup and potatoes. And wasn't there also corn?
Yeah.
Yes, there was.
It's like there's just so much of specifically New World vegetables. And you kind of wonder, like, didn't anyone think about this for, like, 5 minutes?
So I can actually give you the entire menu for the King's Feast without the fancy names because they don't actually put that on here.
There
Okay.
also was, in the AMA, there was a thing about the food. I remembered that.
Yeah,
it was
like
supposed
how
to be,
they
like,
decide the meal or
it's,
something.
like, just to be fun, like, but that's...
So there's garlic bread, creamy tomato bisque soup, which is your dragon's blood soup, roasted chicken, which is baby dragon chicken,
I think.
a corn cobbette,
Yep.
an herb basted potato,
Yep.
and a pastry of the castle.
Right. I don't actually remember what the dessert was.
It was like an apple fritter or something.
Yeah.
Okay.
It might have been the most accurate part.
Yeah. Especially because also the chicken, while obviously they would have had the option of making roast chicken, this is supposed to be a, like, high-level meal for the nobility. And a pretty basic, just, like, roasted chicken thigh would not have been considered especially high-status food, because they tend to go in for really elaborate preparations where, like, the food is kind of decorative and looks like something weird, and also has a lot of spicing.
Right. So, additionally, to make the experience extra weird for everybody involved in this situation, I don't like to eat things on bones.
Right.
Because I am sometimes still 7 years old. And I got the vegetarian meal option instead, which had some real humdingers in there. We got some hummus.
Which is problematic.
Some
Yep.
warm pita bread.
Yep.
Carrot and celery sticks. Now here it doesn't list that I was supposed to have the tomato blood soup thing. I did get the tomato soup though, like you all did. And then I also got the 3-bean stew with fire roasted tomato and brown rice. So no wonder I wanted to die after we left because I just was pumped full of liquids.
And also, like, a lot of beans.
Totally lots of beans. And then my dessert was supposed to be fresh fruit or Italian ice, neither of which happened.
Did you get the same dessert as the rest of us?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think I gave it to
Okay. Oh, okay. Yeah, so there's a lot of choices made about the food. Also, the fork thing is very much people's view of the Middle Ages, but most places in Europe, at least, like, rich people, which is what we were supposed to be, because it was supposed to be like a knightly banquet and we are all supposed to be lords and ladies. Most people who are the elites would have had forks by, like, the 12th, 13th century.
Not to mention, well, that also, but, like, even if they didn't have forks, they had some form of apparatus, like...
They always had spoons and knives.
Yeah, it's always knives. You always had knives to put stuff on.
Like...
Yeah. And we
also,
did we have a knife? I think, maybe, did we have a knife? Or did we have
It's
nothing?
like a butter knife.
And then to make it extra weird, well, I guess not to make it extra weird, you can cut all that out, sorry. But for anybody that actually wants to go after hearing this amazing episode, and you get the opportunity, if you really don't want to touch your food, you can just ask them for silverware and they'll bring you it.
Right, yeah. I mean, you can
Also,
get
you should
silverware,
totally
but everyone should totally go.
Spoiler alert to the end of the episode, you should totally go.
So, before we get to our rating, though, I would like to, in particular, reflect upon the map of Spain. Because the map of Spain is a map that has never existed at any single point in the history of the Iberian Peninsula. So first of all, basically the way it's organized is that in the top kind of like, basically like right corner or so, more or less, like in kind of basically most but not quite all of the very kind of like top sliver of Spain, that is divided between various kingdoms, some of which are real and some of which are questionable. It labels the entire west side Portugal, despite the fact that many of the kingdoms that are highlighted are kingdoms that never coexisted with Portugal. And the rest of the country, inexplicably, is just labeled Spain, which then raises the question of what the rest of it's supposed to be. But, of course, it also is, I think, really questionable because at the time when there would have been, say, a number of Christian kingdoms that are mostly occupying the northern part of the country, the undifferentiated mass that is just labeled Spain on this map would have been Muslim-ruled Al-Andalus. And this entire show enthusiastically pretends Muslims do not exist.
Very much.
Like, very enthusiastically.
Well, it's just, that does raise some questions about our favorite Green Knight.
Yeah, there is actually one. I mean, I do appreciate that they actually seem to have like race blind casting for the knights. That there is, I guess there was one black man who was cast as a knight.
Yes.
Yeah, so I do appreciate that they have race blind casting. But like, yeah, but then he's just the knight of, I can't remember which kingdom he was supposed to be. It was maybe he was the knight of Leon.
Yeah, we don't remember that either.
But just like one of the various kingdoms. Other things that I would like to highlight about this map is that the kingdom of Asturias is, first of all, in the wrong place because it's in what is instead vaguely labeled as Portugal, or a chunk of it at least is. And also it is portrayed as being next to the Kingdom of Leon, despite the fact that the Kingdom of Leon replaced the Kingdom of Asturias and they never existed at the same time. And I also have thoughts about the fact that while a number of the kingdoms, then the knights are just like given the name of the actual kingdom, Catalunya, weirdly enough, is instead given the name of the Knight of Peralada, which seems like a really weird choice, given that while there would have been a Count of Peralada at the time, the much more important count would have been the Count of Barcelona. And so I don't understand why he wasn't just the Knight of Barcelona.
There's a lot of questions there. I think it's kind of just like when anybody wants to make up a story on a topic they don't like. Like, for example, when we see some of the hot takes from the screenwriting group.
Right.
And people are like, oh, I know this one thing. I'm just going to make other things exist within it.
I'm pretty sure Dawn is just Googling trying to find that hot Green Knight.
The other thing I wanted to highlight about the choices that are made about how the knights are organized is that we are associated with the Knight of Santiago de Compostela. And I do want to note there was actually a military order of Santiago, but on the other hand, it did not exist until 1160, a point at which the map of Spain that they so creatively invented is even more inaccurate than it would have been in, say, about the year 1000. Which is the closest this map comes to having any kind of validity. Also, I think it's kind of cool that now they actually don't have a king. They have like a queen and the queen's advisor and the queen's in charge, which is kind of cool. And although the problem is that at this time there would not have been any unified Spain under a queen, like under a monarch at all, because Spain is, as we know it, is not a thing until the 15th century. In the 11th century, it would have been like 5 kingdoms, and then gradually it became like 3 kingdoms, etc. But I do want to note that there were a couple of ruling queens of the Kingdom of Castile. So that is, I think, a kind of cool touch. That is something that is actually right about the Middle Ages, but that people would not necessarily expect.
So are the kingdoms of Spain, or what would be Spain at the time? Were they like, are they kind of represented? Like, would they have been the people like the knights that we saw? Like, were they? Yeah. What were the king? What were the regions of Spain that before this time?
Yeah, so it depends on exactly like what time you're talking about. But so okay, in about the year 900, there's the Kingdom of Asturias. There's the Kingdom of Aragon, which I think is represented. There's the Kingdom of Navarra, and there's the Kingdom of, or not the kingdom. There's the County of Barcelona, or kind of various kind of an amalgamation of counties. The most important of which was the County of Barcelona, and that's what's now Catalonia. So that's the kind of what you've gotten around the year 900. The Kingdom of Asturias, part of it then splits off and becomes the Kingdom of Castile. And then the rest of Asturias then ends up instead becoming the Kingdom of Leon. So that's the issue, is that it has Asturias, Leon, and Castile as if they're three completely separate things. But all of them are at some point the name of a kingdom. Navarre continues to be a kingdom and lasts for a while, starting in the 12th century. Portugal also becomes a kingdom, and I think the 12th century as well, but they kind of go back and forth. Leon and Castile are united, and Aragon and what is now Catalonia, so the area under the rule of the Count of Barcelona, those also become united. And then what is now Spain exists because the Queen of Castile marries the King of Aragon. And in Catalonia, they still basically complain about how, we never really agreed to, like, be in a country with, like, those people in Castile, and we don't want them. And essentially that's, like, still part of the justification for Catalan independence, is that, like, we didn't used to all be one country and never should have been one country.
Okay, so how Texas feels.
Yeah.
Yep.
Pretty much. Except that they also have the experience of, like, fascism and their language being outlawed. But
No.
yeah.
It's more of a joke, sorry.
No, it's fine. I just get sensitive about Catalan independence, as you know.
Oh, no, I mean, like, really quick.
I was just
Really quick. So you were talking about all that stuff in words I can't pronounce, which is super fun for me. But you did mention there were three ruling queens of the Iberian,
Or specifically of either Castile or Castile-Leon.
Yes, there were three of them. I can't say their names. I can say Isabella. Got that one.
Yeah, so the last one was Isabella, who is the one who married the King of Aragon, creating the unification of Spain. Okay. One is Urraca, which was a popular name for Castilian royal women for a bit back in the day. And she was in the early 12th century. And then Berenguela, who ruled for a little bit. Berenguela.
Okay, that's the closest I'm getting. Thank you.
Yeah. Who ruled for a little bit in 1217, but ended up abdicating in favor of her son. They're also in Aragon did not have an exact ruling queen, but there actually was a princess of Aragon who ended up then being the one who married the Count of Barcelona, and that's how those places became united.
Okay.
Yeah, so she did inherit, she just didn't exactly rule as queen. Because he ended up basically ruling, unfortunately. I mean, no offense to him, who is, I really should remember this, I think he's Ramon Berenguer I. He's one of the Ramon Berengers. So, Dawn, you found the educational guide to medieval times.
Yes,
what exciting things does it reveal about how they would like this experience to be educational?
So the basic understanding from me glancing through it is it's a high-level overview of some basic vocabulary with some additionally basic understanding of, for example, medieval castles and battles. Mm-hmm. They explain what a lord is and what a manor is. They explain that the earlier castles were built between the 9th and 10th century, how the average thickness was 15 to 20 feet for a wall.
Okay.
Bad.
They talked about how medieval weavers used dye from plants and insects.
Okay.
They had about a range of 20 colors maximum.
This is something I know a lot about.
Textile.
Oh, about dyeing.
Oh, okay.
My mom was very much into natural dyes.
Oh, cool.
Oh.
So these are things that I do know. I do know that red is from the Cochineal beetles. That's where the brand. There's a brand Cochineal, right?
Maybe.
Oh, anyway, Cochineal is from a particular type of beetle. It is red, and that's what we get the red dye from. Anyway, go on. I'm sorry I had to interrupt.
So they bring up the Bayeux
tapestry.
And the lady with the unicorn series. A Mile of Flowers, which is 1,000 flowers. Just how large some of these were. Then it goes to castle defense. That involves just how sieges were carried out. Siege warfare was used by Europeans from Arabs during the Crusades. Most often battles were fought during the summer months when weather was typically better.
Yeah.
What a buttress, a tower, what keeps are. Narrow slit windows is another key word. The fore building, murder holes, which I don't know if that's really a vocabulary word, but
I mean, it's not one I usually assign to my students, but hey.
Okay, tomorrow you're going to teach them about murder holes.
I'll teach them about murder holes on Thursday.
They were windows or special holes in walls or gates that were used by defenders inside the castle to pour sewage, hot water, oil, or burning tar on those below.
I knew that already. I was well aware what murder halls were because if you poured hot oil onto them.
Well, I know that, but I was explaining to the audience.
Okay, but you were very excited. I'm sorry.
And I just think it's funny that it says murder holes on a website from medieval times.
Yeah, that is
it's a good phrase.
It is. Then it explains what page and squires are. You get some little illustrations. And then it gives you an overview of the vocabulary. It talks about the swords, daggers, flags and banners, the codes, the coat of arms, the traditional colors, the metals that were used. And then we go into weaponry and equipment. It's pretty thorough, to be honest. Battle axe, caltrop, crossbow, dagger, glaive is a word, right?
Sarah and I both know what glaive
Yeah.
is.
Okay, I'm just asking if I'm saying it correctly.
Yeah.
Gunpowder.
That was a thing.
It was
No,
And it still is.
I've heard of it, yes.
They wouldn't have had it
knives,
in
lance.
Europe, though, for...
It was introduced, it says, in 1250.
I think it's introduced in the Islamic world in 1250. I am not sure they actually had it in Europe in 1250.
The strange and powerful new technology was introduced to Europe around 1250. Invented by the Chinese much earlier, gunpowder was brought back and used with poor success until it was better understood. Eventually, Europeans learned more about gunpowder, leading to the powerful new weapons such as guns, bombs, and cannons.
That's also like a big eventually.
Yeah, and then they go into equipment, and then they talk about basically how the knights existed and what their purpose was basically within the organization.
Right.
Well, it actually seems like the educational segment of the Medieval Times website is pretty good.
It's actually more thorough than you would expect.
Yeah.
But I think that it's definitely like at a 6th grade level.
Right, yeah.
But
like, it's not that bad. I mean, I feel like, honestly, my biggest critique of it is that...
Is the gunpowder?
Well, the gunpowder, which... so there are references to... They were clearly aware of gunpowder, but the first gunpowder recipe and the first evidence that they actually, like, kind of had the faintest idea how to do anything with gunpowder is about 1300.
Well, I think you should email Medieval Times after this episode and explain that you would like them to correct their website.
I'll let them know. I mean, I'd also like them to fix their map of Spain, but
I mean, you could add it in there.
Yeah, we could go back to that.
I mean, so I feel like my biggest problem, I was going to say, with the educational stuff is that it seems weird to me that they're really very exclusively focusing on essentially warfare, knights, and castles. And well, I mean, which is obviously what most people think of when they think about the Middle Ages, and it's obviously what's being kind of highlighted at medieval times. But it's a kind of general problem that I have with what the kind of, I guess, standard perception of the Middle Ages is, that it's okay. I mean, but now you're completely ignoring anything about medieval religion, which is extremely important in medieval society. You're completely ignoring anything that's happening in, with the growth of cities and with, artisans. And you're also, it sounds like, basically completely ignoring the fact that women exist.
Or brewing, which also women did most exclusively.
Yeah. And so it's that there's just so many other things that are happening, and the knights are a relatively small proportion of the population. And it's, it's not uncommon that that's how the Middle Ages is presented, but I, especially as a medieval social historian, I find it sort of frustrating that that's being highlighted in the educational guide to the complete exclusion of any other kind of knowledge about the Middle Ages.
I think you've got a customer review.
Yeah, there you go.
But before we move on to your last segment, I have one question.
Yes.
You left out the falconer. Why?
Oh, I forgot about the falconer.
Okay. I was just like, are you like really against it?
No, I just forgot about the falconer. There was a falconer, and that falcon is awesome.
I was actually looking for a point to say that I've been several of times to medieval. I've attended medieval times a number of times.
It's so hard to say.
It is. There's so many times in this sentence.
I have been a frequent guest of medieval times.
Perfect. But my favorite thing is that there's a point where some dude just comes out with a falcon and just lets this falcon run around for like 10, 15 minutes.
Yeah,
I don't know.
It's a chunk of time.
It's a pretty good chunk of time, yeah. And it's great because it's just this falcon that's like flying around, grabbing stuff, doing falcon stuff. It's good.
Falcon stuff. Also on the Reddit AMA, they did have a falconer as well.
Oh, yay.
And it's very often that at least one or two shows a week the falcon just gets grumpy and stays up in the rafters.
He's like, yeah, no, I'm good.
And I was like, oh, grumpy falcon.
That would be very sad if you were there and there was a grumpy falcon.
Yeah, I feel like I've played my odds, though. I'm probably going to get a grumpy falcon sooner than later if I go back.
Yeah.
He's always been, or they. I shouldn't say he or she. It's they.
It's they.
The falcon can decide who they want to be.
Yeah.
But every time that I've been there, the falcon has done a good job.
Yeah. My work trip, falcon definitely performed.
Oh, yeah, you went there for work.
Yes, I did go there for work. I was literally a stereotype of a television show.
I weirdly have not ever been there for work.
I'm very shocked. I bet if there was one near Kalamazoo, you would be right there every freaking
Well, so
trip.
apparently there actually was, I think in one of the AMAs, somebody actually did ask, like, I think somebody actually asked about, like, do you know about the tradition of people going to the big medieval conference at Kalamazoo, going to medieval times? And I was really confused by this because the closest medieval times to Kalamazoo is actually the one in Chicago, which is pretty far.
Yeah, it's. I don't know if that would be worth the trip.
It's quite a drive.
Yeah.
Because you got to drive all the way around, like, Michigan.
Yeah, I mean, I
Right.
think
Yeah,
I have a friend who did it one year, and I think it is still, like, I don't know, maybe 3 hours or something. I mean,
Yeah.
it's far enough
It's a
that you
bit.
wouldn't do that just to, like, go to the one show and then go back. Or, I mean, most people would not. And I have...
Especially after you traveled there to the,
Right, which most people have. Yeah, so I have not heard of that particular tradition at Kalamazoo, but I don't know. They would either really appreciate or really hate us if we did. So
You should organize the 2020 group trip.
yeah,
Get those group discount packages. It's like $18 a person.
yeah,
And you get a free souvenir cup.
yeah.
Yeah, we should have mentioned that this is quite... It is the price is very reasonable. It's quite reasonable.
Well, it starts out okay. I'm gonna say no and yes at the same time. If you're savvy, you can get a good price because it's usually on Groupon or they have like a discount code. But like for the tourist, like the kind of family, like the quasi heteronormative, like blundering Midwestern family that like all are wearing matching sweatshirts. I could literally see a parent being like, "Oh, kids at Castle, we'll just go in," and they end up walking out spending like $400.
Yeah.
Also, we forgot to mention
that's the problem, Mike. Because they do upcharge. I mean, everything is an upsell. I mean, you go in, they're like, "Do you want this extra thing? Do you want this? Do you want to? You get your photo taken? That's $20.
And the drinks are also really pricey. And I think it's like $16 for a beer.
$16 for my light up cup.
Yeah, I mean, have you seen the cup though?
I mean, yeah, I've seen the cup.
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate my Stein.
But speaking of which, like, there was a point where we were watching the gift counter was somebody was just coming to pick up dragon statues, and I loved it so much. Like, they clearly had pre-ordered these dragon statues. Like, it was the only place that they could get dragon statues somehow. Or it was the closest point. I don't know. But they were really into it. And that was great.
I would say that if you compare it to buying 4 tickets at a movie theater and adding in popcorn and drinks, it's negligible. It's very similar.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean...
Like, if you really, like, took a family of 4 out, bought 4 tickets, that's $50. Bought popcorn and did either dinner before or after, you're probably very close to what we paid, which I think was about $150 for 4 of us.
Right.
Yeah.
So in the segment that we would ordinarily call Fabula Nostra and would kind of talk about an alternative movie, I thought it'd be fun to talk about for this how we would do our own version of medieval times. Do either of you want to start?
Go ahead.
I honestly, my personal fantasy version of medieval times has more wizards and shit in it.
Yeah, wizards are good.
Like it has maybe some owlbears, something like that. A creature, some sort of creature from the forest that doesn't belong there, and then the knights have to deal with it, which also raises some very obvious questions about, or some very important questions about kind of colonialism. But that's what I'm thinking. I just want more wizards.
That's fair.
I want more magic.
That's fair.
And also more falcons. More of the falcon guy.
I feel like the falcon guy could have been given a much bigger role.
Yeah.
Yeah, what if there was a falcon going around while they were fighting?
I worry that might freak out the falcon.
Yeah.
Probably. But I'm just saying in theory. It'd
Yeah.
be cool.
But yeah, if they could.
Maybe what if it was a robot falcon?
Okay.
So we don't know that it is a robot falcon, though, so it doesn't get scared and there's no animal issues.
Okay, I'm going to take back my answer. I need more robots.
Okay.
So more robots, more wizards.
Yes, sounds like that's on your list.
Robots and wizards and Godzilla.
Hey, this is a wrong format now.
Okay.
You need to go to the robot bars in Japan.
So Don, what would you like to see in your version of medieval times?
I would like there to be female knights.
Yes, definitely.
And it would be interesting if there was like a 10-minute arc of like a small town squire moves up the ranks to become a knight in the big city.
Yeah.
Kind of like a redemption story of the family name.
Yeah.
And it could either be a male or a female. And then that way you get some of the small town stuff you were talking about in the village stuff and learning a little bit more about the day in the life.
Yeah. That'd be really cool.
And, because I mean, as much as I enjoy the tricks, do we need to watch like all 6 knights catch rings with their lances?
Right, and parade their horses back and forth about 7 times.
Yeah. I mean, I think they could do a little bit more story arc and a little less of the tricks.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. So...
Your answer's good.
Thank you.
So much better than mine.
You like robots, though, and wizards.
Robots and wizards are good.
I said wizards, not lizards. Well, I also do like lizards.
Wizards.
And you said wizards and lizards.
I did, actually. I like both.
Since at the end you suggested War
Sarah,
Godzilla.
what about you?
So
what would you like to see if you could control medieval times?
So what I would actually like to do is, even just sticking with the kind of standard, having knights and they battle it out format, I would like to see some acknowledgement of the fact that Spain was actually a really diverse place, and that until 1492, there are always Muslim kingdoms, or kingdom at least. So I think what would be really cool is to actually acknowledge that. So first of all, like, that map should be set on fire and then fixed by me.
So when there's a crime in our local Chicago medieval times and Sarah's arrested with a Sharpie.
Exactly. The crime is just like me defacing this map and like drawing over it to fix it.
Just lots of sad faces with mustaches.
Right. So after I deface this map and fix it with a better one, less artistically, interesting, I'm sure, but more accurate. On my map, I, would have various of the, Muslim kingdoms, and I think it would be really cool to set it kind of slightly more specifically in the period of about the kind of 11th century, where in addition to there being the various Christian kingdoms, some of which are to varying degrees accurately represented, that there are also a bunch of different Muslim kingdoms at that time, and we actually know that at various points, things kind of went back and forth, and that Christian knights fought for various Muslim kingdoms, and Muslim knights fought for various Christian kingdoms. And this is just a thing that we know is true about the Reconquista, that not everything always fell along precisely religious lines. And I think it would be really cool to have the setting be basically a tournament, but a tournament that brought together both Christian and Muslim knights, and that that was something that was kind of part of the plot in some way, is thinking about the religious differences and to what extent those divided people or not during this period.
Yes, some actual historical accuracy would be great.
Yeah, I mean, as usual,
Yeah,
that's
that
basically what
sounds
I'm
dope.
asking for, is just like, can you pretend
No, it makes
history
complete
existed?
sense.
But also maybe one of them could be a robot.
Yeah, I mean, she could probably work it in.
Yeah, like, or...
I could definitely have one be a wizard.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
And could one have a backstory or be a lady?
Mm-hmm. I think we've got a
storyboard all this.
We've got a pitch going on.
Yeah,
here.
exactly. And like, I also will say, like, in the real medieval world, like, I mean, first of all, this is not the real medieval world. So given that it's not the real medieval world, I'm totally fine having some women knights. But even if it was the medieval world, there is actually really no reason at all that you couldn't have, say, like, a woman disguising herself as a man, and that could be like part of a plot line that would.
That's exactly what, like, I was thinking with regards to, like,
Yeah, we've got a really good, like, we've got a good script, like, part of a script going on.
We do,
Yeah.
we really do.
Where there's robots disguised as women, disguised as men.
Doing a lot of
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah, there's a lot going on.
We have to work on it a little bit.
Yeah, we've got a lot.
Medieval times will be in touch.
Yeah.
with our suggestions. I actually do
demands.
kind of want to contact them and offer to fix their map.
I want you to do that so bad. Please be sweet to me.
Here is like 7 PowerPoints that I have shown to my students with many maps of Spain. So this comes to the point in the podcast where we rate the medieval times experience.
Okay.
So this is a section that we call Estimatio. So how would you guys rate medieval times on a 1 to 5 scale? 5 being, this is the best thing I've ever done, and 1 being, I'd never ever go back.
I've got to give it a 5. I love it so much. It's the worst and the best. It's so great.
I would probably land somewhere around a 4. I don't have fatigue yet from living here, but I definitely do experience the level from being a person near one where when people visit, they're like, let's go. Pleasant company excluded. But between, like, I've gone to medieval times so much I should have a punch card.
It would probably help with the cost.
It would. But it is really fun. And, like, especially since, like, one of my really good friends has a kid.
Yeah.
And, like, she loves going. And, like, I think that's freaking adorable. And I think that it's fun that it's something you could do with a kid. And it's something that you can enjoy doing with a group of people or just one person. You don't have a lot of things that flex that well. So that part's nice. I go into those things knowing that probably at most 10% of it is accurate.
Yep. That sounds about right.
So you gave me hope that at least some of it was actually thought about, especially with the fact that they had some documents and some of the weapons were era loosely.
Yeah.
But, like, to your point about a bunch of the other stuff, you know, it would be nice to get some lore backstory, and that's something I've always kind of hoped they had. Like, make it more of a theatrical production instead of, like, an actual, like, dressage.
Right.
Oh, there is dressage, too. We didn't even mention how there's dressage.
Yeah, like, those horses are very well trained.
They are. I want to hug them.
They're so pretty.
I'm such a horse girl. But yeah, so I'd say a 4 just because, like, I worry about it, like, the story changes, but it doesn't change enough to be, like, honestly, like, having a queen that's female versus having a king that's male, like, I don't think it changed the story that much.
Right.
No.
It was the same, like, blowharded thing. Somebody being like, no, you need to do this.
Yeah, and then it ended up being this very weird that, like, the queen's kind of sitting there, and then there's this sort of vaguely unintentional, like, toxic masculinity parade in front of her. It's sort of awkward.
Yeah.
Strange.
Yeah. I think Our Knight actually turned out to be kind of sexist.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
Yeah, he seemed awkward.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, like, he was supposed to be the villain.
Yeah, we ended up, we forgot, spoilers, we ended up with the heel, but...
Yeah, we had the night who was the bad guy.
I guess they're not spoilers, but yeah,
Spoiler
we forgot to
alert.
mention that we ended up with the heel.
So, I would probably, because I feel obligated to take historical accuracy into account somewhat in my rating.
Oh, for sure.
I'm going to go ahead and give it a 3, which is basically my rating for, like, fun of the experience. It would get a 5, but historical accuracy, it would get a 1.
Fair.
So that averages to about a 3. I feel like it is a really fun experience. I would totally go. I would only go with people who, like you guys, are willing to tolerate me then making a lot of comments about the historical accuracy level, which is not everyone.
I mean, but that makes it actually kind of like 2 in 1 for the show for us.
Right. It's like
we get a bonus level to the show.
That's exactly what I was just about to say.
Yeah, the extra show of me making snarky comments.
If it was just me and if it was just Benjamin and I, like, I would just be like, horses.
They're very good horses, though.
They are good horses. So, as I said, would definitely go again, but would only go with people that I felt confident would be willing to tolerate me and my snarky comments about historical accuracy. Since anyone who is not willing to do that would hate me by the end of the show.
Also, you want to get that horn cup.
I would go back and get a horn cup. Thank you all. Thank you very much to Dawn and Benjamin for joining me.
Thank you for having us.
So we will be back in 2 weeks with our episode on the Little Hours. In the meantime, we would love for you to come and find us and rate and review us on iTunes/Apple Podcasts. You can also find us on Twitter at Media-eval-pod. Or if you have any questions for us, please email us at media.evalpod@gmail.com. We also would love for anyone who is a listener to come and join our Facebook group. It's a lot of fun, and I think we've mentioned a couple of times in this episode that there are some visuals that we would love to include, so those will be posted there. All right.
You've got to see the Green Knight.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so there will be pictures of...
Are you going to post the picture I took of you in the Green Knight?
Yes. Probably.
You don't want to.
Well, you're going to have to now.
Now I have to.
He's very handsome.
I mean, I tagged him on Instagram, and I hoped I was going to get a follow back.
Oh.
Now I felt creepy. But
yeah, so...
But people need this.
Yeah, so there's a photo of me and the attractive knight. There are photos of the painting of somebody executing a llama, and of a very creative map of Spain. So, whichever of those you find most exciting, you can find it in the Facebook group.
It's clearly the map of Spain. Everyone.
It's clearly this map of
very
Spain.
excited about that
Everybody
map of
wants to
Spain.
see this map of Spain. All right. Thank you all so much. Thank you guys for joining me.
Thank
all right,
you.
bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.